We focus on the heart of the GLP-1 community. Real people, real stories, and the fight for affordable access. By listening, you are supporting our advocacy efforts to make these life-changing medications accessible to everyone who needs them. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. Welcome to the GLP-1 Collective.
Welcome to the GLP-1 Collective podcast, where we share real stories, real advocacy, and together we make a real impact. We're creating a community centered on support, education, and real change. And we are working hard to make affordable access a reality for everyone who needs it. Visit GLP1Collective.org to support our mission and learn more. In this episode, I'm joined by longtime advocate Beth Laf for a powerful conversation about the shifting economic landscape, the end of the GLP-1 shortage, and how to get involved in local advocacy efforts that truly make an impact. We also dig into how to push back against stigma with facts, and why being prepared for misinformation and confrontation matters now more than ever. That's why we're excited to share 2 upcoming resources from the GLP-1 Collective: our GLP-1 Facts versus Myths webpage, and our GLP-1 Certification Courses built to help people feel confident, credible, and equipped to speak out. Courses for healthcare providers are also on the horizon, but community resources always come first. We are so grateful for Beth's fire, her experience, and her ongoing commitment to this movement, and I'm personally thankful for her honesty and strength throughout this conversation.
I'm sourcing through a telehealth provider and have been sourcing through telehealth since day one. It's life-changing. You know, I was thinking about it today because that whole "you're cheating" came up again in conversation. And it's like, for me, my thought is, how is GLP-1 or GLP compounds, how is that cheating when I still have to weigh myself? I weigh my food. I count my calories. This is not cheating. This is math. And I'm supported by the medication, but I still have to take the actions. I still have to be responsible for my own behaviors. I also have a cardiac status. High blood pressure, it's regulated through medication. If I don't take it, I still have high blood pressure. And even if I take it, I still have high blood pressure. I just have a safer level of high blood pressure. And for someone like me, you know, I died 14 years ago.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I made it back, obviously.
Congratulations.
Thanks. No, when I had my twins, I went from preeclampsia to full-blown organ failure and eclampsia after they were birthed. And so, yeah, they like had the paddles and everything.
I have twins. And I did not go through that, though. That's scary.
My first set of twins, I didn't go through that, but the last set I did.
So you have 2 sets of twins?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's precious. You must have a big full house full of love.
Not anymore. All of them are grown up. So the only ones the last set is the 14-year-olds obviously are still at home, but everybody else is grown up, moved out, and onto successful lives.
I have 13-year-olds.
Okay.
Do yours fight?
Constantly. They're Capricorns.
Yes.
They fight about everything. And to listen to them, it's the meanest, bitterest, unkindest fights that they have. Because of course they know each other's triggers. And yet, if anybody else says anything negative about their sibling, they will also jump down that other person's throat too. So it's twins are an interesting dynamic.
They really are. It sounds like our boys have a lot in common. Are yours boys?
Identifying as boy.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like ours have a lot in common.
Yeah, they do. That's how it goes. You know, they do their thing and it's interesting.
Huh?
But yeah. Let's go back to intro stuff. The end of this month will be 1 year that I have been on GLP-1 medication. I've lost 90 pounds with the help of that. Yes, thank you. And my husband and I have already been joking. We're like, when we hit 100, we're going to go to like the store and we're going to get the 100 balloons and do a video or whatever. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. Why not? As of this morning, when I weighed in, I'm down 90 pounds since the beginning. And it's not all been linear. I mean, when I go on MyFitnessPal is what I use because I've been using that since 2012. When you look at it, you know, the trend is downward. So it's a good trend to see. It's not all as steady as I would like, but the medication helps so much with just noise. I mean, to have not not have to think about food every time I turn around, not be sitting here thinking, oh, well, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. What have I eaten today? What else can I eat before dinner? Blah, blah, blah. And I love that. It's such a good tool. It's so helpful. You had posted up earlier
That's
you
what I
had
was going to ask.
Oprah Winfrey, and I had originally seen that when that first aired, and I was like, she's right. And I was so grateful to her to being who she is and who she represents to people who've struggled with their weight for so long, that she came out and really said, look, I've never had this lack of food noise in my life. And I say that even having had gastric bypass, this is not something that even the gastric bypass gave. Because even with the gastric bypass, I was still always thinking, ooh, what can I make that's not going to upset my stomach? What can I eat that's not going to hurt? What can I have that's going to be good? And da 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 da. And to have that silenced within days of my first dose is like,
It's life-changing.
it's life-changing, because you realize how much you've obsessed about it and how much of your personal energy that you've just thrown away worrying about food.
And time and money. Oh my God, the money. I have been saving so much money. Never in my life.
I find it really ironic that I'm not actually saving money, but I'm buying better quality food.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Doesn't really matter
It's
then. It's a good trade.
I think it's a fair enough treat. I mean, I can afford to buy shrimp once or twice a week, because between everybody in the family, we're not even eating a whole pound for a meal. So yeah, it's a little expensive, but is it as expensive as, it used to be? Where we'd go and buy the 3 pound bags, and that still wouldn't be enough. We'd have to make sure we had other stuff to offset it. It's a real different dynamic that your head has to go through.
It's important for people to know too that the diet itself is so much easier to change. And it does change. Like you said, you're buying way better quality food. It's not like you're just taking this medication and eating cakes every night or ice cream and cookies only.
Potato chips is my weakness. Salty stuff. We all have a weakness food. That's mine. Yeah. To not have that be there and be part of my problem, I love that for me. And I love that for my family. And one of the things we were joking about, I have a really big cast iron pan that I've used for years for cooking. And that's the main family cooking pan, And we joked about it, and I was like, oh, well, we're going to have to get a smaller one, because if I cook the way I used to cook now, then we have like 3 days worth of leftovers, and nobody in my family likes leftovers. So
it'd be so easy to cook and like keep the food around, but you're right, it's just not the same.
That's why I avoid the whole meal prep thing, watching all the fitness influencers and stuff, because I watch a lot of that now. If I'm on TikTok and I see another GLP-1 person, I'm like, follow that one, follow that one, follow that one. I will follow everybody in the community and give them as much support as whenever they come across my timeline. And I do the fitness influencers and stuff because it helps me stay focused. All of my social media feed has completely changed. I use it as a motivational tool. And that's how I found you guys.
I'm glad you did.
It was GLP-1. I'm like, oh, of course we got to follow this one. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute, it's Collective. Oh, she's doing this. I love this. This is great. I'm going to go over to the website. I'm going to subscribe. I'm going to do this, because I support what you're doing, especially as we're going through this as a group, that we're having this medication that's literally life-changing for everybody. And it's been around for a long time. And that
20 years.
We all still have to fight for it, though. And I really think that a lot of that is cultural. I think the United States and the fat phobia that we all live with and deal with all the time is a big part of that, and why insurance companies can do it the way that they're doing it, because they wouldn't do it for anybody else.
Well, you don't see people on the national stage making fun of people for having high blood pressure or asthma,
psoriasis, or any of that other stuff. You don't see people doing that, but we see it here. We see it with this all the time.
Yeah, the stigma is a big part of why there's not coverage. There's just not enough compassion in that space.
I also think it's the manufacturer's pricing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'm all for a free market economy, and the manufacturers will price at what the free market economy will bear. And if the economy bears the pricing that they're trying to justify here in the United States versus what they're selling, and name brand, in other countries for. As much as I dislike it, I don't fault them for it, because this is kind of how our medical system works.
So free market economy. I know what you're saying.
Well, the
I don't think it's
manufacturers
right, but
what it'll bear.
yeah.
And if other countries have different rules for how they are allowed to price medications and stuff like that, then that's what they price at. If they can price more here, traditionally, that's been part of the United States' issue with the way that our medical system is set up. And it's not fair and it's not right. But I understand it. I don't like it. And I know that without a sea change of effort, it's not going to change. I mean, it's just not, because the manufacturers have no impetus to take a lower profit margin. At the end of the day, they're beholden to their shareholder. That doesn't mean that it's justified being 10 times more expensive in one country as it is in another, or 20 times or more.
No, and it's a medication that has the ability to potentially save hundreds of thousands of lives annually, and it's just not right.
And the fact that a lot of the usage and things that it could be used for is just really starting to be tapped. Yes, we know it was originally developed as a diabetes type control medication, but the weight loss thing was noticed very early on in the initial stages of research. This is not something where they noticed after 10 years that it was good for weight loss. They knew way back when they first developed it that this was a potential side effect, because when they were doing the original human studies, they noted it in the original studies. You go back and read them, it's there. They knew this. And now they're extrapolating the appetite suppressant control system and the fact that it's kind of hijacking the dopamine receptors for addiction therapy and all these other things, because us as users of this medication have been telling people, oh, hey, did you know that I have a friend who used to drink quite a bit? She got on this medication not long after I did. And now her glass of nightly wine is completely off the table. She doesn't even crave it. And I'm like, That's good for you. That's fantastic, because it was something to the point where she was starting to show kind of signs where it's like, girl. Yeah, where it's like, I need that wine and not just. But yeah, so you see the addictive behaviors and stuff that is all tied within this medication. And now they're saying, oh, well, we don't want anybody using it without our name brand on it. But now we're also going to recommend it for sleep apnea. We're going to recommend it for substance use disorder and all these other things. So we're going to expand the field of patients due to the effectiveness of the medication, but we don't want any off-brand generic use of it.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't work. And that's where the only way we can get change is by getting to the politicians and talking. And I think it's really important that people contact their state senators, contact their federal senators and representatives. It doesn't take a minute to send out a postcard. It doesn't take a minute to send an email. And even if you're sending an email every couple of weeks, eventually somebody's going to pay attention to it.
I called my local representative 3 times and emailed them twice, and they did get back to me and say that they were going to get back to me, and they never got back to me. And I'm like, what's it going to take for me to go show up on her front door and live stream it?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Depending on who if we're talking state level, I think state level to be more receptive. I'm in West Virginia, and of course now our state, it's already closed session for the year. They're only in Charleston for a couple of months and then they're done. So anything that was on the table is already gone, but I no longer have my friend who was my elected representative that I used to go visit. He's no longer up there, and he's since retired. And I don't personally know my local representative now, and I've sent a couple of emails, and that's as far as it's gotten, and I've gotten like standard response back. But that doesn't, I can't send another one.
That's true.
We scream into the void long enough, eventually the void's going to have to pay attention.
There's a long history of FDA making concessions when there was enough public outcry for them to be forced to actually make those concessions. I think there's definitely enough people passionate about this medication who cannot afford it, or even who can and know that it's still wrong to not be able to share this medication with people who can't afford it. I think there's enough passionate companies too. I know there's a lot of companies that want to make money, but if we're getting help in the goal of making this medication cheaper, I don't really care where that help is coming from. Let's all just make as much noise as we can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the compound pharmacies should be able to operate with this medication. It is still in shortage. I know the companies say that it's not. I disagree. I know too many people who are taking this medication, and there are a couple that are on name brand prescription versions. And my girlfriend was telling me the other day, she's like, well, I ordered it. They ordered the refill. They told me it was going to be ready, and then they called me and said my refill was canceled because they didn't have it. That's still a shortage. She had to call around, and as I said before, I live in West Virginia. So when I'm saying we have to call around, I'm talking we're going to have to drive 30, 35, 40 miles. It's very sparsely populated to find the medicine, and that's what she ended up having to do. Locally, it wasn't available at the local pharmacy. She ended up finding it over in our next town, which is from her house to there is like a 45-minute drive one way.
Oh my gosh. I haven't heard of too many medications where people were willing to drive hours to get their medication because it was in shortage. But the fact that that medication is so important that they cannot wait for it to become available, that they're driving hours to get it, really says something about the effectiveness and how we do not want to live without this.
And the media and all the coverage brings out those fear feelings. And when we're living from a place of fear of worrying about whether or not we're going to get our medicine, that's not a place anybody wants to live in. So people will make extraordinary efforts to access the medicine that they need.
I want to say I haven't seen this amount of people who have been so passionate about a medication, but when half of the country has obesity, it actually makes sense.
Well,
I think that half of the country has had something all at the same time before.
And exactly. And when we're talking about this medication and how it's affecting our society. Okay, so there's a lot of people on this medicine of any pick a version of it. There's a lot of people on this medicine to the point where manufacturing companies who create like snack products, you'd have to be living under a rock to have not noticed that everywhere you go now there's protein bars, even where 3 years ago, you couldn't go to a gas station and get Fairlife. You might be able to get a single brand, but you're not going to walk in and see 10 different protein bars and protein chips and protein drinks all stocked up every single gas station and every grocery store. They're devoting more shelf space to it. Retailers don't do that unless there's enough of a demand. Shelf space in the retail world, those inches are precious.
Yeah, visibility.
As we're losing inches, the product manufacturers are gaining inches on their shelf space to be able to provide products for it. And when you're seeing that kind of pivoting in manufacturing happening, that shows how much we have as GLP-1 users are having an impact on society in a bigger scale, wider scale.
It's really ironic you bring this up because I was at Walmart and right in the front, there was this huge pallet of Fairlife shakes with a big advertising slogan on the side that said, "Fuel your journey your way." And I was like, I guarantee you that is for GLP-1 users, because I never even heard of Fairlife until after I started using this medication and it was blown up on social media.
Sure. I went to Walmart, and when I walked in, I was heading over to the pharmacy. There was a big display of Quest chips. There's a new protein product, that kind of thing. A couple of years ago, keto got really huge. Keto's been in and out of fashion, whatever. But to see that kind of stuff where they're really specifically marketing
I hope it grows. I like options.
I don't have a problem with it. I like having options. Exactly. Beef jerky gets old as a snack food.
So are you a Fairlife fan then? I've actually never tried one. I've heard a ton, but never tried one because they're kind of expensive.
They're very expensive and it's delicious. I love it. The few times that I've had like sales or deals on it at the grocery store, I will pick it up. but I won't pay full price for it. I'm a cheapskate
Right?
still. I
Well, I
like
mean, what, you have 4 kids?
2 still at home.
There you go. I mean, I don't think it's a cheapskate when you have to feed your family.
Well, yeah, I guess that's a fair enough comparison too. I like it. It's good. There are some of the products that have come out that are gross, quite frankly. There are other things that I like. I've also noticed too that as I've continued on my journey, some of the things that I tried at the beginning when I first started tasted just fine. And now to me, that's like, ew, I get a lot of food aversions that I have to work through. That's something new to me. Because before it was like, give me it, you know? So that's an interesting change too. But yeah, just the
Um,
different variety of how you can tell when we are having an impact on society.
yes.
Yes, fitness, there's always been like the GNC and the health food stores and all of that stuff. But when you see it getting into everything, that's when you know that there's more of us out there. I mean, I could easily say that I could probably go online and follow 5,000 people on TikTok or on Facebook or Instagram or whatever that are all on GLP programs and not have a single one of them double where I'm
Yeah.
following the platforms. And I still wouldn't even make a dent in the amount of content creators that are out there. I have a TikTok. I have very few people on it and very few videos. I'm not a content creator, but that's okay. But I figure for every one person that posts up 10 videos or so about their GLP journey, there's probably 1,000 people that don't.
Oh my gosh, yes, for sure.
That's probably inaccurate, but easily I would think that there's probably 1,000 for every one that you do see.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. There's definitely more people who view the content than they do create the content. And I totally get that. I didn't actually start creating any content until I made that petition to fight for affordable access. Before that, I was just a viewer, a perfectly
Yeah.
happy viewer.
Well, see, but when we find something that we're passionate about, it's important that we
Yeah.
follow the passions. And you're doing a lot of good with what you're doing because you're
Thanks.
getting the word out there and making it something that's out for everybody to stand up for themselves, besides just once every 2 years or every 4 years at the voting booth, to get out there and make that connection. And like we were talking before, talk to your representatives. Unless they see the pressure, we can't really change anything.
It's true. And I feel like just posting on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook is not enough. There's a lot of outcry on social media, but I don't feel like it's getting to the people who need to hear it. I don't think the FDA is trolling TikTok every day. You know what I mean? So
There's probably a few, but overall, no, probably not.
right. And then we
And
have our feeds, right? So there's an algorithm. Whatever we're looking at is what we get. So I have a hard time believing that they're really seeing all of the people and all of the outcry for needing affordable GLP-1s or losing access to GLP-1s on TikTok.
mhm,
I mean,
I
before
agree.
I started looking into GLP-1s, all I had was memes. And now it's all GLP-1.
hmm Every social media has their algorithm. So yeah, as soon as you start following a couple, you start seeing more and more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're scratching the surface of what we could be doing to make sure that we're not being ignored.
Right.
And I believe there's a part of this journey that's kind of silent because there's a lot more women on GLP-1, and the healthcare industry in the United States is used to ignoring women's medical needs.
I think the biggest silent part, it's got to be like hundreds of thousands of people who are taking it without telling anyone. I mean, the actually silent people who are afraid of that stigma and don't even let their own spouses or family know that they're on it. And I can't tell you the amount of people that I've met since I started my journey, even in person, who were taking this medication without telling anyone, and people who are terrified, like actually terrified of anyone finding out. There's a woman that I used to work with that I ran into, and she was like, "Oh, what's that? I don't know what compound is. What does GLP-1 mean?" And I'm like telling her I'd started this nonprofit. And by the end of the conversation, she was like, "I'm on it. I'm on it. Okay. I'm on it. Everyone in my family is on it. And we're not telling anyone."
And I guess that's why I'm loud and proud about it. I ran into a gal that I hadn't seen since, probably 2022. So back when I was much bigger. And I'm not done with my journey. I've still got another 50 pounds I want to lose. But she noticed it and she's like, oh my gosh, you've lost so much weight. And I'm like, yeah, GLP-1. She's like, oh, you're on the shot? I'm like, yep, on the shot. She's like, really? My so-and-so is taking it too. And then we start talking and she's got like 5, 6 other people that she knows that are on it. And I'm like, removing social stigma, I think is, I don't know. I don't know if there's any way to properly state the importance of acceptance for medicine and the process.
But you're absolutely right. The more people who talk about it, like you just said, you ran into your friend, all of those other people had told her that they were on it, and it just normalizes it. It's totally normal for her. So when you say it, she's just like, oh, you're having a great experience with this, just like all the other people I've talked to. Must be doing something right.
I love Reddit. I do. However, if you only use one form of social media and you get a jaded story because people complain more than they praise. You know, when things are going good and they don't have anything to complain about, they generally speaking say nothing. That's part of why I'm really out and loud about it to anybody that I run into, because yes, okay, guess what? I'm on it. As I said, the end of this month marks 1 full year. I have already lost 90 pounds. I have had virtually no negative side effects. The only negative side effect I've had is the constipation. Okay, well, but that's also me because I will get busy and I will forget to drink.
Me too. It's all water related. Me too. For me, it's all water related.
That's why I've got this little guy here and I've got the alarms in my phone to remind me to drink. I literally have to make sure I remember. But that's my only side effect. And that's not enough of a side effect for me to have real issues with it. Now, other people I know have had much more side effects than that, and they're still staying on it because they see it working for them. But your mileage may vary, right? Everybody's journey is different, and we're all just trying to get to the top of that mountain, and we're going to find our pathway up there.
And a lot of side effects are manageable. You just need a support network to help you understand what options there are to help manage those. And a lot of people, especially these ones that aren't out about it, don't have support. And they might have some nasty side effects. They might be sick, unable to eat, or diarrhea, or constipation, or terrible nausea, awful fatigue. And a lot of it is something that you can manage or avoid altogether if you have a support network, which was part of why it was so important for me that I started a support group for these people who didn't have anyone in their lives that even knew about it, to have a space where they could go talk to people that did.
Right. And the anonymity that you have on the support is so wonderful. So if somebody is in that situation where they want to get out there, or they just want to be able to have questions answered without having to call their doctor, or whatever route they're taking to get their medicine, you know, without having to talk to somebody about that from the medical field and potentially get charged, to be able to have that network where they can go on the GLP-1 Collective website and create their own little profile completely anonymously, get on there and just read through what everybody else is going through and have answers, and have other people say, oh, well, when I was having this problem, this is what I did and it worked for me, and maybe you could try that too.
And that's why social media has been so great too, because they can follow someone's entire journey and multiple people's, and they can ask questions that will get answered. So I know that TikTok has been a tremendous resource for a lot of people, and even for myself.
When TikTok went away in January, I was like, I know it's going to come back, but
scary.
Will it still be the same? Will we still be able to talk about stuff like this? Will we be able to be candid, or are we going to have to go to YouTube, or are we going to have to go over to the little Bluebird app? You know, where do we got to go?
If it goes anywhere, I want to go where the majority of people go. That's for sure. I don't want to lose the support network that we have on there.
No, it's great because we all have down days. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm really lucky in that I'm not the only one in my family. So like my husband and I were talking this morning, we take our shots on Saturday night. And usually day 2 after the shots, which means today, we both kind of just feel really low energy. We sat and talked about it this morning, and we was like, well, what are we going to do? I'm like, it's springtime. We have a very large farm for us. It's a hobby farm for any, It's not a commercial farm. But we're talking, you know, we've got this project with the greenhouse. We've got this project with the vegetable beds. You know, we got to plant this. We got to do this, that, the other thing. And I'm like, I don't want to do any of it today. So we sat, we talked about it, we compromised, and we did some other smaller things ourselves to make sure that, we were able to deal with the side effect that we know is coming because we've been on it for a year now. And it made it much more manageable for us to be able to do that. And I think that's why support's so important.
It's great that you have each other. I always think it's super cool when I hear that there's a husband-wife duo who are taking the journey together. You have probably a stronger support system than most people. You could talk to the person next to you.
Well, exactly. Literally the person right next to me, and we're together all the time. And it's like, hey, are you feeling okay today? And he understands. Because like I was talking about before, every once in a while I'll get that food ick. So I've had to change the way I cook. I used to do a lot of slow cooker meals and longer term cook meals. And I can't do that because if I use my slow cooker and I have to smell that food all day long, the last thing in the universe I want to do at the end of the day is actually consume it. It's like, I'm great tomorrow. I'll have it, chop up a little bit or something, but not today. No, thank you. And he understands that because he's on the same journey with me.
I have not had that experience, but to be fair, I don't use a slow cooker. I'm one of those dump and go people who does like the 15-minute max, throw it in the instant pot, come back and it's done.
Hey, I get it. I love my Instapot for some things. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
But when the kids were younger, when I worked in the office, that slow cooker was my go-to thing. It'd be like I'd throw stuff in the crock pot in the morning, plug it in, go to work, and that way when I came home, dinner was all ready and we didn't have to worry about trying to hurry up and find something.
Very smart. I wish that I had done that years ago, but I had a slow cooker and never used it. I never got into it. And then I got the Instant Pot and I'm like, this is it.
I'm also born and raised in Wisconsin, so if we can throw 5 different things in a pan and add cheese to it, we're good.
Yeah, well, I'm right under Wisconsin and I agree with this.
Yeah,
Love my cheese. When we first started talking, you said that you had a recent experience with someone saying that using a GLP-1 was cheating. Was that in person or online?
somebody I was talking to through my personal work.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
it was a bite my tongue thing. And so for me, one of my processing things when I have situations like that where I can't actually say what I want to say, I will wait until I'm all alone and I will have that argument with that person when they're not actually there and I'm all by myself and I can have these thoughtful, well-reasoned arguments.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I had some similar experience when I went to my hairdresser who I've been seeing for 15 years, best hairdresser ever, don't ever want to go anywhere else. But I told her I was on a GLP-1 because my hair has been thinning. And she was like, trade one thing for another. And I was just like, I'm just not going to say anything. I just got to my appointment. She's going to be doing my hair for the next hour. I'm just not going to say anything.
Right. And you don't want to wreck that relationship because you've been her client for that long.
Yeah. And I don't want to see another hairdresser, but I also don't want her to think that that is at all true because it's not. Trade a disease that is life-threatening, life-shortening, and could cause several of the leading causes of death or lose some hair. I'm not bald yet. I would rather live than have super thick, luxurious hair for the rest of my short life, my short, miserable life. And I wish I would have just said that, but you're right. It's like days later, and now it's like months later. I'm still thinking about it and like all the things I should have said.
Listen, I have a resentment that I've carried for it's deeply personal, so I'm not going to get into details here, but my husband and I have been together for over 20 years. And this is a 20-year-old resentment.
Oh, no.
From when I met
biting your tongue for 20 years.
Oh, no, I don't bite my tongue. I just have never had the opportunity to have that other half of the conversation back because it was with his ex-wife.
Yeah. Yep. So you're just stuck with it.
But no, I mean, I think practicing these kind of things, I mean, there's a lot of things I wish I could have said, but because of my code of ethics when I'm at work, I wouldn't have said anyhow.
It's mature of you.
Yeah, it's not mature of me, but
I think that a really big part of it is being educated. In the beginning, when I'd first started my whole journey, I was not founding a nonprofit just yet. And I was still learning a lot myself. And I'm at the point now where I feel confident that if someone said something offensive, I would have an educated response. I just feel insecure if I don't feel like I really have enough to back me up in knowledge if it keeps going. And I think that it would be absolutely fantastic to get some educational classes set up through the nonprofit so that people at any stage who still feel like they have more to learn can go learn and then know how to properly defend themselves with facts instead of anger.
We touched on a lot of that when we first started talking too. The fact everybody's like, well, this new medication, they don't have research. Okay, we've all heard that argument. They don't have enough research. It's been around 20 years. It's been on the market for 20 years, and they researched it for multiple years before it was approved to be on the market. So what exactly do you
And that's a stopper. They will stop talking at that point because you have thrown them off of their confidence. They don't know, they realize they don't know what they're talking about, and they don't have anything to come back with.
That's one way of thinking of it. It's also that they have a preconceived notion in their head of how you're supposed to react, because I'm calling you out on no longer being fat. Think about the fact that personality-wise, when we're larger, we try to make ourselves seem smaller. In our concealing clothing, our big baggy t-shirts and all of that sort of thing. So we are used to making ourselves kind of try to look smaller or be smaller. So we also tend to internalize that in our reactions to people who come after us like that too, where we don't stand up for ourselves because we're not as self-confident, because it's not like we're not aware of what size we are when we start these, or what size we are right. I take my measurements every month. I know exactly what size I am.
For a lifetime of that, it's not easy to make yourself a tiger.
Overcoming that and being there for yourself. I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, the only person you're really living for is that person in the mirror. If you can't make that person happy and stand up for them, then you need to really think about what you're going to say in those kind of situations. I think you're right. I like the idea of doing like a play act or a mock
interview, but
mock
confrontation.
Interview. It's always people who, most of the time, it's people who have little to no value to you whatsoever in the first place, coming out with the most outrageous thing. Because if people cared about you and had compassion, they wouldn't say those kind of things. But yeah, it's always like this friend of a friend or an acquaintance or that kind of thing. And, I think it's really good for people to rehearse conversation. What do you wish you would have said to your hairdresser?
Exactly what I said to you. At the time, I think I just wasn't confident. I didn't know enough. Now I feel like I re-say the same thing over and over and over again. So when people come at me with anything, I don't even really have to look it up. But I like to do research before I come back with anything, because I want to make sure that it's educational, because I do think that throws people off when you come back with facts that they can't dispute because they don't actually know. For the most part, I don't even have to research anymore. When people come at me with stuff, I'm just like, let me help you understand.
I can understand that feeling. Absolutely. I love facts and data and numbers. I guess that's part of our speculation in the conversation earlier is I really wish I could figure out a number of people that are actually on the medication. Because even the articles and things that we've been able to research and find information on, they're still just ballparking it.
There's no way they will ever know. The amount of people who were using compound from unregulated wellness spas and the countless numbers of compound pharmacies that I don't believe they tracked how many people were using at every single one of these compound pharmacies. And then the number of people who are sourcing from overseas. And I'm not just talking about China. I've talked to people who are getting it from Mexico and Europe and Canada. And it's like the numbers go on, and the FDA doesn't know about this. There's no way to track that. And we're not even talking about research. There's no way.
Exactly. And we don't know, because the manufacturers, even if we're just talking the numbers that they're saying they're selling, okay, that's great. So that's one source of data. That's a portion of it. But there for a while before the whole thing happened here with the FDA, you'd hear about a new wellness company, new semaglutide provider or, GLP-1 provider that seemingly popped up overnight. Like every few days, you'd hear another one. Yeah, we can sit here and list off this one and this one and this one and this one. But what about the little one, the wellness spa that works in one little city or in 3 counties or in 2 states
or a person working out of their home labeled as a wellness spa and then servicing over state lines.
Right. There was something I had seen about that too, that there was an arrest made of a gal who was doing that out of her home and reselling it.
Mm-hmm.
And, how many clients did she have? And if she's the one they found, that means there's probably more, right? So how many other people are we talking about? What do you think the numbers are? I figure if we took conservatively, if we took the numbers that Novo Nordisk says, if we took the numbers that Eli Lilly said and doubled it, I think that would still be way too conservative. I think
double it, at least.
I think if you took the numbers that they say and then tripled it, I think you'd be closer, but I still think you'd be under.
The FDA saying that the shortage is over, I don't think they care. I think that anyone using those wellness clinics or these compound pharmacies, I don't think they give a crap about them. They only care about the people using name brand that the manufacturers want to service. They know there's more. Those are the only people that they want to service, the people who will pay.
Well, and that's even why when they came out with their new program since the change in the FDA from the United States here.
It's only $500 for one vial now.
Yeah, what a bargain.
Price. What a bargain. It's not $1,200 anymore. Oh my gosh. Like that's a win.
And then that somehow represents the fact that we have now no more shortages, right? Because not everybody's going to use their new.
Exactly. Discount. Yeah, not everyone will be able to afford that, so they won't be able to use it. And then the number of people actually using that will not be accurate to the number of people actually using in general, but it'll look like less because less people are using it from them. So there's no shortage.
Anybody who has just a little bit of cynicism can figure that the math doesn't math.
At least for tirzepatide, $350 for the starter dose, I think is just a way to get people caught. They try it, and like every single one of us, they have this Oprah experience where they're like, oh my God, I'm not suffering from the daily monologue in my mind anymore, and I can actually function and feel good. And they don't want to lose that. And then it bumps up to $500, unless they can't afford that $500 that month. Then it bumps up to $600, $700. And there's nothing to say that it goes back down to 500 after that. It's a gotcha. It's a real hard gotcha.
It's enough to give them the epiphany of what things could be. And then I hate to use the addictive model for this medication.
Especially when it does the opposite.
But it has some earmarks of it.
I mean, like, your whole life is filled with suffering. You know that you're missing out on so much social experiences and emotional experiences and just being treated like any other person should be treated. I saw someone say that they didn't experience what it was like to be treated like a normal person until they were 46, when they started using a GLP-1 and lost a bunch of weight. And then people started treating them differently. I don't want to say it's addictive either, because it's not. Like, you don't feel like you need to get a fix, but it's like once you actually feel good for the first time in your mind and in your skin and in your body and in your organs and everything, it's like, why would you want to go back to it? And we're all fighting for that. We're just fighting to feel healthy.
To be able to have access to the medication without having to feel like we're doing something dirty or that we have to justify it to everybody around us. That it's simply medicine. It is simply medicine. No different than birth control, no different than any other medication that keeps you in a healthy range.
But the stigma is too strong, and we're just going to have to keep fighting, making it normalized so that we don't have to fight and justify it anymore.
Exactly. And I think that if we do that, there will finally be some response if we keep pushing. It doesn't take much. You and I can all go and look up our senators' email addresses. Guys, y'all can just send them a text message. All their phone numbers are available on the websites. All you need to do is go on Google and say, state representative contact information, email address. All of that is available to you. And it only takes you a couple minutes. And then What's really great about that is every single email provider, as soon as you've already sent somebody one message, sending them the next one's even easier because it's already saved for you.
I hope that some people hear this and do take action. It's a really good message.
It doesn't take much. All we need to do is share our stories. If everybody who's taking this, if everybody who's struggled for access shares their story, then we have to be listened to. There's a reason the phrasing is that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. We need to
Because it
squeak
does.
a lot.
Yeah. I can't thank you enough for this conversation. It was really nice to just have a totally casual, naturally flowing conversation with you and just shoot the crap.
Absolutely. It was wonderful.
I
It
really
was
appreciate your time.
not a problem. And if you want to do another interview at another time, let me know.
If this episode resonated with you, share it. Leave a comment, give us a 5-star rating because we can't help people if they don't know we're here. And we are so glad that you are.
Welcome to the GLP
I'm sourcing through a telehealth provider and have been sourcing through telehealth since day one.